Welcome to Plymouth 400 Conversations. I'm Michele Pecoraro, and I'll be your host for this series. The 400th commemoration of our nation has inspired a body of creative work: poetry, film, literature, and art. This series will explore several of these projects and how they contribute to the historic, educational, and cultural legacies of the Plymouth 400 commemoration. In this episode, we're talking with Maggie Baxter, Vice President of Programming for NBC10 Boston, NECN, Telemundo, and NBC Sports. Maggie has been the force behind the Quadropoly's commitment to community programs such as Plymouth 400. Maggie, welcome to Plymouth 400 Conversations.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's such a nice way for us to kind of really talk about everything we've experienced over the last 5 or 6 years. So thank you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we love having you here. So I'm going to jump right in, Maggie. You have been in the broadcast industry for a long time. Would you give us a little synopsis of your path to NBC 10 here in Boston?
Sure. So I actually started my my broadcast career here in Boston. I went to Emerson College and got an internship at WHDH, which is a wonderful station here in downtown Boston, and started in a newsroom. So I started working as a chyron operator, and then I was a news writer, and on to be an associate producer. And it was really great. It was a great experience. I really got to learn a lot about being efficient and quick and doing really good, solid journalism and storytelling. And then in 1991, I got an offer for an opportunity to switch over to the programming side for the ABC-owned station in San Francisco, KGO-TV. So I was out there for 25 years, and I did a variety of different roles throughout the whole time, from producer to executive producer, overseeing the development of a lot of original local programming, from lifestyle to documentary to special news events. And it was really a great experience. I got to dive deep into a lot of different types of programming and to really understand the importance of critical storytelling. So it was a wonderful opportunity for me, and I loved being out there for 25 years. And then I got the very exciting call in 2016 that the NBC-owned station group was going to launch a new station in Boston that will be working with NECN and Telemundo Nueva Inglaterra. And they asked if I would come out and oversee the programming for that. So it was a great opportunity. It's rare that you get an opportunity to do something like this. And so I jumped at the chance, and my family was very supportive, and we moved from San Francisco to Boston. And it's been a great ride ever since. And I'm enjoying everything that I'm doing. And then here in Boston at NBC10, NECN, and Telemundo, I oversee program acquisition, program development, and that again is everything from lifestyle programming to documentaries to live events. I work very closely with the news team. We work very closely with our sales and marketing team to support our clients. And then finally, in my role, I work with our Director of Community Relations and Communications, Catherine Shahady, who's on my team for all of our community partnerships. And that's been a really, really engaging, wonderful experience. I have to tell you, probably one of the most rewarding when we get to work with our community partners to help raise awareness, to spread their message of hope and need, and to really be able to use our megaphone to help. And that is probably one of the most rewarding parts of our job.
Wonderful. That is quite a journey. So most local broadcast stations support community events and programs. What sets NBC apart from the others in this market?
Well, it's interesting. I think the benefit for organizations and viewers and people in our community in Boston is that all of the stations are so good and so solid and so strong. And so there's a lot of opportunities for people to collaborate with people in the media. And I'm grateful to work in this market alongside such wonderful stations that we work with in this market. What we do here at NBC is different, and I'm really proud of that. We do, as you mentioned, NBC Sports Boston moved into our building with us. So we're a quadropoly, basically. We have NBC Sports Boston, which we do collaborate with on community partnerships and programming. We have NECN, which covers all of New England, all 6 New England states. And then we have, of course, NBC10 Boston and Telemundo Nueva Inglaterra, where we're able to really be able to produce quality programming and news for our Hispanic audiences. So The reach is pretty incredible. And because we are all working under one roof and because we are all working together, we have a lot of resources to do the best that we can for these platforms. We are on over 20 platforms when you think about everything from our streaming on Roku to Apple TV. We're coming out on Amazon Fire. There's a lot of really great ways to see all of the content that we're developing, and it's really beneficial to our community partners as well. And we love sharing those platforms. That's what we love to do. So anytime we can open up those platforms to help people send a good message of hope and to help others give back, and all of that is so important to us. So I think when it comes to what we're doing differently in the market with community, that's one thing. We just have incredible reach with the 4 properties here. And then the other thing we're doing that I feel really strongly about is it's not, we don't build one and done relationships. All of our community partnerships and things that we're doing in the community, we try to build long-term relationships. So we want to see an organization through to its goal, and we want to help along the way. And so we'll try to continue that storytelling over months and years to really, and as of course you saw that with Plymouth 400, because we've been working with you for 5 years at least, but we really do long-term relationships. I think that is the most effective way for us to use these platforms. Again, we have a megaphone here, and one shout out of the megaphone probably isn't going to do enough. So we need to make sure that we continue to work with these with our community partners and to build these relationships and to support them over long periods of time. So I think that's the other thing that's different with what we do here at NBC. And I have to tell you, the commitment from NBC and Comcast and all of our local and national leadership is tremendous. The desire to give back, it's a mandate for the company, and thank God, because we love it. So we get a lot of support from everywhere to do this throughout the company. So it's a great opportunity, and I love it when we get to work with our community partners.
And we've been a recipient of that for a very long time now. As you mentioned, it's been at least 5 years. By the time we're done, it'll be 6.
Yeah.
And so our relationship with NBC goes back with you a long time. So back then, when Plymouth 400 was out trying to raise awareness and excitement about the 400th anniversary, media outlets were telling us to come back closer to the anniversary, come back in 2020, late 2019. What was your and NBC's reasoning for becoming an early supporter and ultimately lead media sponsor for the commemoration?
Well, I think it's a mutually beneficial relationship, and that's probably definitely the reason why. When we look back over 400 years, there's so much that we don't know, and there's so much that we need to learn, and there's so much that we need to explore together as we look back about how to really commemorate this special event, and how to really learn about everyone that it's impacted and how to be as inclusive as we possibly can. And that doesn't happen in a couple of months, and that doesn't happen in 1 year. We needed to be in at the ground level with you, to be learning together and to be educating ourselves so that when the time comes, we're telling the story correctly and that we're really talking to all the right people. And that, again, that just takes time, building relationships, talking to a lot of people, helping you grow and get your message out. And through that, we learn a lot. And so a lot of it is just, we needed to be educated, right? And we just needed to know what the proper way was to do this and what the real story is. And the only way we could do that is by really working with you side by side. As you grew, we grew. And as you learned, we learned. And I think that's been a really, really important part of our relationship with Plymouth 400, and one that I will cherish forever. And because it while it's a story of Plymouth, it's a story well beyond that. And just working with everybody that we've been able to work with to really learn the history has been critically important. I've loved the conversations that we've been able to have with our Wampanoag advisors and everyone involved in this commemoration. But it's been important for us, and I would not change anything that we did. I would still say to you 5 years ago, we're ready now. We don't need to wait till 2019 or 2020. And I think because of that, we've been able to do some really good work together and really create a foundation for education moving forward on what this, on what happened 400 years ago.
And the educational piece of this is so critical to make sure that people are getting a balanced view of this history and other history. Um, you mentioned working with many organizations over these 5 years, um, and you have. You've worked in presenting the goals and themes of the commemoration with other museums, Provincetown, NEHGS. Can you talk about some of those partnerships that we have all worked together with?
Yes, yeah. Again, this is the benefit of being with you side by side for 5 years. The relationships and the partnerships that we've built with everyone who's been involved in this commemoration have been critical, important, valuable, and relationships that we want to continue as we move forward. As I mentioned, the Wampanoag advisors, spending time and really learning their history and story has been so incredibly important for us. And being able to tell those stories to educate everybody in our communities has been really important. So that's been a relationship that I know we will continue and build on for years to come. Working with Plymouth Pawtuxet, which is what a wonderful way to celebrate the restoration of the Mayflower 2. NBC was the only station when it came in 1956 that was out there covering it. And so for us to see it full circle and have the Mayflower restored and come back has been really, really, really special for us. And we've thoroughly enjoyed working with them and seeing that beautiful, beautiful, magnificent ship come back home. Very, very, very touching, poignant, and I think very symbolic of how we want to move forward. So that's been a very important part of one of our relationships. The New England Historic Genealogical Society, we have loved working with them and learning about ancestors and the history of New England in a way that I don't think we would if we were not involved in Plymouth 400. We've worked with the British Consulate's office and learned a lot about the partnerships that are happening with our friends overseas. And I think that's been a very critical part of the story. We've worked in the education arena with the superintendents, especially Plymouth Public Schools, and the work that's being done in the Plymouth Public Schools, the talent of the students and the education that's happening is really tremendous. And it was so eye-opening for me to see that and to learn about that. So I've loved that partnership. Provincetown, where we know that the Mayflower first arrived, that's a fun experience for us to learn that story and to work with them, and with Pilgrim Hall and the General Society of Mayflower Descendants. So it goes on and on. There's been so many wonderful organizations. We've worked with Sea Plymouth, which is making Plymouth a great destination for people, and I think all of that helps us. It educates us in a way that we know we're going to do the storytelling right. But it also helps build these relationships to continue these conversations that we're having well beyond 2020. Well, we're in 2021 now, well beyond the Plymouth 400 commemoration. So I think all of that is really, really critical. I'm looking forward to keeping these relationships going and to continue to tell these important stories. It's the history has not always been told right. And when we do get it right, and when we really do tell everybody's story. And I think that is one of the biggest gifts that we can give future generations. And that's what I really look forward to being part of well beyond Plymouth 400.
And we so appreciate that, that was one of our main goals as well. And you really took that and ran with it. So we appreciate that totally. And in addition to working with all of those organizations and others, you've been partnering with our local cable community cable station, PACTV, who is actually recording this for us right now.
Yeah.
It is unusual that a major broadcast station would work together with a community television station. How has this partnership been helpful in reporting on and in promoting Plymouth 400?
Yeah, it's been amazing. And I honestly don't know what we would have, it was so incredibly, not just helpful, but eye-opening. And again, we got in this with NBC for the educational aspect of what needed to happen. There were going to be fabulous events to cover, and there's a lot going on with Plymouth 400. But the main reason we wanted to do this with NBC is the educational part of it, that we really wanted to help create educational platforms that will help generations to come. And PAC-TV has the same mission. And when you see our missions align like that, it really becomes so incredibly exciting. Through our relationship, it's been, the logistics of they're able to shoot stuff for us in Plymouth, and we're able to shoot stuff for them here, and we share content. all of that makes our footprint larger. It makes our resources larger, and we're able to do more together. And, it's always better, right, when you're working on a team, but when you're able to expand that team to such talented people who live in the community and know the community better than we would, it only can make for better storytelling and better educational platforms. And we're truly, it's been such a wonderful experience. The talent at PACTV, the beautiful videos that they have provided for some of our programming on NBC10 and NECN, the willingness to just help us really figure out the best way to get all the materials we need and to shoot and to create solid programs. And then even during COVID, being able to work with us when we've had limited crews to be able to help us to cover more as we move through Plymouth and everything that's going on. It's been such an incredibly valuable experience. I can't thank everyone at PACTV enough. We all have the feeling that we want to keep this going because, again, it's just so beneficial for all of us. But we love everyone there, and we love the work that's done there. It's so wonderful, and the programming that comes out of there. And so I look at this as not just a Plymouth 400 relationship, but this is a relationship that we hope to continue moving forward. I've learned a lot from my colleagues at PACTV, and I hope I've been able to do the same in return.
Yeah, and it almost acts as a model, a trial, if you will, of how a broadcast station and community television stations could possibly work together in the future, and it would expand your footprint quite a bit. So,
It does.
and that we have a wonderful studio here and state of the art equipment. So we really appreciate that NBC didn't discount this community television station. We have gone through an unprecedented 14 months. I think we can all agree. In fact, for a station like NBC, the news cycle has been wild for at least the last 5 years. I know that Plymouth 400 has done a lot of pivoting ourselves during this pandemic. I cannot imagine the challenges of covering important events during this. With the political climate, racial justice matters, big issues like climate change, all happening during this global pandemic that none of us could have ever predicted. How has NBC and broadcast in general changed? What changes do you think could be permanent? And how do you feel about that as a longtime broadcast executive?
Yes, I am far too long time, I think. but that's okay. It has been, it's been such a game changer when you think about everything we've been through for the last 14 months, 15 months, and everything our communities have been through. And it's required a lot of things for us to change. If I just first speak to the technical side, and then I to the far more emotional side, we had to pivot because we still have to be on the air 24/7, and yet we had to have everybody leave our building except for a few news personnel here. So we really had to adapt new technology quickly, and we had to find a way to do things with keeping everybody safe. And I will say that I'm so proud of our teams here because I think we've actually produced more content than ever before, critical content to help our communities even get through COVID and all the social justice and everything that we've been through over the last year. So I think in some ways that will carry over to the other side because we've been able to produce all that content with really nobody being in the same room. So I think that's been a really, really critical part of what we've learned over the last year. But more importantly, we've really had to take a hard look at ourselves, and not just as journalists, but as people. And I think, that's a really important part of what we need to take to the other side. We always strive to be diverse and inclusive in our storytelling, but we're not always getting it right. And we need to be able to have these open, frank conversations where people can tell us, you got that wrong. You didn't tell that story in an inclusive way. So we can learn from that. And we're really engaging with our community partners to reach out to us and to tell us when they think that we got it wrong. Because we're having conversations internally that we probably should have been having a long time ago, but we're having them in a way that is really, really helping people try to understand, the first step is always to educate yourself. If we don't educate ourselves, we can't create change. And then we have to take what we're learning and we have to really create change. We have to take action. And that is the part that I think everyone is working together on to really do that. I think what Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world, right? Yes, we need to be the change we wish to see in the world. We need to look at our storytelling. We need to really take a hard look at what we do and how we tell the stories and who are we interviewing and are we really hearing from the right voices in our communities, and having that time to really explore our storytelling and who we're talking to and having these important conversations has been critical. And yes, that will continue as we move on, because it has to. It absolutely has to. We can't stay put. We have to keep moving forward. And so I am looking forward to that, because I really feel like with every day that I'm in this job, every day I learn another thing that I didn't know before, that I really feel I could have changed the way that I told a story, or that we produced a program, or just in general how we're relating to people in our communities. So I love that fact, and I love sharing that with everybody. I love having these conversations, and and sometimes it gets uncomfortable, but that's okay, because that's the only way we are going to create that change that we need desperately. So I think this past 14 months have been beyond challenging and devastating, and so many levels, and has hit our communities so hard. I do think that we're going to come out stronger. And I think we're going to come out in a way that is going to be able to bring us all together in a way that maybe wasn't before. And do we have a long way to go? Yes, we have a long way to go. But I feel like we're moving in the right direction. And by really, internally looking at ourselves and understanding where we need to grow and we need to learn, both again as journalists and also just as people, I think only good can come out of that. And so I look forward to that. And I look forward to all that good coming out in the world. I think it's going to be, I think we have some remarkable months ahead of us.
That is a very hopeful outlook. And you are always very positive, and having worked with you all these years, it's been a remarkable relationship. And really, Maggie, you have made this happen. And everybody at NBC has been a joy to work with. But we really appreciate all you've done, really, for our community here. And it's been a really amazing ride, I will say, and an unexpected ride. We thought we were going to just do a lot of fun, great events that brought this message forward, but we have actually together done quite a bit during COVID in the space of virtual events. I mean, things we never imagined we'd be doing, and you
Yeah.
have stepped up every time. So we appreciate everything you do. I could talk to you all day, Maggie, but we only have a half an hour. So I just want to say thank you, and um, thank you for joining me for this episode of Plymouth 400 Conversations.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's been so wonderful. And thank everyone at PACTV, who I love dearly. And just know that this is the beginning, right? It's not the end. We're going to be doing a lot as we move forward, as we all work through making this world a better place.
Thank you, Maggie. And thank you all for joining us for Plymouth 400 Conversations. Special thanks to our sponsors and guests who have made this series possible. Special thanks to our partners, PACTV and the Center for Active Living in Plymouth. For more information or how to view past episodes, please visit our website, plymouth400inc.org. Until next time, go make some history.